Hi, it's Steph from Simplicity Happens, and today's tutorial features creating this adorable frog on a log with this pond background scene that's great for this upcoming spring season. So let's get started creating our cute little frogs now with this awesome background scene as well. Hello and welcome. Let's get started creating our frog's head and eyes. The first thing we'll do is go up to Insert, Shapes, and let's scroll down under the Basic Shapes section. And in this first row, we'll select the second shape. It's the oval. Once you see that plus sign, let's just click and drag this out. And then come up to Shape Format and let's enter our dimensions over here in the Shape Height box. Let's enter 3.75. And in the Shape Width box, let's enter 5.5. Now we can come over here to Align, click on it, and scroll down to Align Center. And then as we make our way back toward the center of the screen, let's go to Shape Fill. And at this time, under the standard colors, let's choose this light green color. Now go up to Shape Outline, and we'll scroll down and select No Outline. Next, let's create the frog's eyes. We'll first start with the outer eye, then create the middle eye, and lastly, we'll create the inner eye. So let's create the outer eye by selecting the oval that we just created for the frog's head and pressing down on Control-C, Control-V to copy and paste it. And then come up to Shape Format and let's enter our dimensions into the Shape Height box. We'll enter 1.58 and into the Shape Width box, let's enter 1.75. Now we can copy and paste the outer eye to create the middle eye. So we'll go ahead and press down on Control-C, Control-V. And then in the Shape Format section, which is already selected, let's put our dimensions into the Shape Height box. We can enter 1.17. And in the Shape Width box, let's enter 1.33. Now we can come over to Shape Fill, and we can put this middle eye in white. I'm just going to move this to the center. If you notice those lines running straight through, that means it's aligned nicely. All right, lastly, let's create the inner eye. So we'll go ahead and press down on Control-C, Control-V. And then in the Shape Format section, let's enter the dimensions. Into the Shape Height box, we'll enter 0.54. And in the Shape Width box, let's enter 0.6. Now we can come over to Shape Fill and select the black color for the pupil. And I'm just going to move it down here for now. I might tweak this later, depending on what it looks like. But we've created the first eye. So let's go ahead and with the pupil selected, let's press down on Shift and Control and click on the middle eye and then click on the outer eye. Now we can come up to Group and Group. Once it's grouped, let's copy and paste by pressing down on Control-C, Control-V. And then at this time, I'm just going to move this eye just a tad over from the other eye. And I'm looking for those red dashed lines moving horizontally, both above and below the eyes. That just tells me that they're aligned nicely. So I'm going to bring them in just a little bit. And then let's go ahead and press down on Shift and Control and then select the other eye. Come up to Shape Format and let's group and group. Now we can bring the frog's eyes up to the top of the frog's head and go up to Align and then Align Center. Next, let's create the frog's nose by going up to Insert, Shapes, and we can scroll down under the Lines header and choose the first line. Once we select it, let's just click and drag down vertically. Now come up to shape format and let's enter our dimensions. Into the shape height box, let's enter 0.25. And into the shape width box, we'll enter 0.21. Now we can come over to shape outline. And in this last column, let's scroll down and select this darker green color. And then go back into shape outline and we'll scroll down to weight and we'll thicken it to a 4.5 point thickness. Now we can bring this part of the frog's nose over. And then I'm going to copy and paste by pressing down on Control-C, Control-V, and going up to rotate and flipping horizontally. Now I can just move, this over. And if you notice those red dashed lines running horizontally above and below the nose, that tells me that it's aligned nicely. So I'm going to click off, and now I can select one of the nostrils and press down on Shift and Control and select the other one, and then come up to Group and Group, and then go to Align and Align Center. Next, let's create the frog's mouth. So we can go up to Insert, Shapes, and then under the Basic Shapes header, let's go into the third row down and scroll all the way over and select the last shape. It's called the arc. Once you see that plus sign, let's just click and drag. This one can be a little tricky. So at this time, I'm going to use the circular arrow to maneuver it around. And then I'm also going to use these dots to kind of draw it out into more of a smile. Now I can use the circular arrow to kind of maneuver it around. And draw it out. Once that's completed, I'm going to go up to Shape Outline and select Black, and then go back into Shape Outline and scroll down to Weight. And at this time, I'm going to choose a 4.5 point thickness. And then I can just move this over to the frog's face. I'm just going to be sure to align and then align center. Next, let's create the sides of the frog's mouth by going up to Insert, Shapes, and again, let's go down and get that arc in the third row down under Basic Shapes. Scroll to the very end, click on the arc, and then we're just going to click and drag this out. At this time, I'm just going to maneuver it around. And then I'm looking for these orange dots, which will allow me to put a little bit of a curve on this. Just want to kind of curve it just a little bit. And then what we can do is go up to Shape Outline and select Black, and then go back up to Shape Outline and let's scroll down to Weight, and then scroll down to a 4.5 point thickness. Now we can just hover over the sides of the spocks, click on it, and we can just move it and just nicely place it on the edge of our smile. Once that's completed on the one side, let's copy and paste by pressing down on Control-C, Control-V, and then going to rotate and flipping horizontally, and just going ahead and doing this on the other side. Once the smile is completed, let's go ahead and select one of the outer arcs, and then press down on Shift and Control, and we'll select the middle arc and then the side arc. Now come up to Shape Format, and we'll go to Group and Group. And then we can go up to Align and Align Center. Next, let's create the frog's outer and inner body. So first, let's start with the outer body by going up to Insert, Shapes, and we're going to scroll all the way down to the flowchart section. And in the second row, let's scroll all the way to the end and select the last shape. It's called the flowchart delay. Once you see that plus sign, let's just click and drag this out. I'm going to use the circular arrow to turn it at this time. And then let's go up to shape format, and into the shape height box, let's enter 4.83. And into the shape width box, let's enter 4.77. Now I want to put this frog's body in the same color as the frog's face. So I'm going to select on the frog's circular head and then come up to home, scroll down to the format painter. And then once you see that paintbrush icon, we'll just click on the frog's body here, the outer body, and then we can move it to the center of the screen. Now go up to shape format and we can align and then align center. And then because it's covering up the frog's face, we need to send it backward. So you can click on send backward a few times to get it all the way to the back. Once that's complete, let's create the frog's inner body by going up to insert, shapes, and let's scroll down under the basic shape section. And in this first row, let's go to the second shape, the oval, click on it. And once you see that plus sign, let's just click and drag this out. Now we can go up to shape format and enter our dimensions. Into the shape height box, let's enter 3.62. And into the shape width box, we'll enter 3.55. Now come on over to shape fill. And at this time under standard colors, we can select the yellow color and then go to shape outline and scroll down to no outline. Now I'm going to go back into shape fill and scroll down to more fill colors. I just want to select a little bit of a lighter shade. So I'm going to go ahead and select this one and then click on OK. And now I can bring this to the center of the screen. Just to be on the safe side, let's go up to align and then align center. And I want to send this backward so that it's behind the frog's face, but in front of the frog's outer body. Now let's go in and group everything together so that we can move the frog's body up in order to create the frog's legs. So we'll first go up and select the eyes and then press down on Shift and Control. Let's select the frog's head, nose, mouth, inner body, and outer body. Now we can come up to group and group. Once everything is grouped, just move it up toward the top of the screen. We can always move it back down later, but I just want to have enough room to make the frog's legs and feet. So let's next go in and create the frog's legs by going up to Insert, Shapes, and let's come down under the basic shape section, and 4 shapes over, we'll select the teardrop. Once you see that plus sign, let's just click and drag this out. And then come up to shape format and we'll enter our dimensions. Into the shape height box, let's enter 1.61. And into the shape width box, let's enter 2.98. Now we can format paint the frog's leg in the same color as the frog's face and body. So I'm going to select the frog's face, come up to home, click on the paintbrush for the format painter. And then once you see that paintbrush icon, we can click on the frog's leg and then just use this circular arrow to move it around. And then we're just going to bring it up to the frog's body. And at this time, we can use the circular arrow to give it a nice little angle and kind of tweak it. Once you have it in a nice position at this time, we can go ahead and create the inner arc to give the leg a little definition. Next, let's create the frog's line to give the leg a little more definition. So we'll go up to Insert, Shapes, and we're going to scroll down under the basic shape section, and in the third row, let's go to the very end, the arc. We're just going to click and drag this out at this time, and then come up to shape format and we'll enter these dimensions. So in the shape height box, let's enter 2.09, and in the shape width box, we'll enter 0.8. Now we can go into shape outline and let's outline in black and then go back into shape outline and we'll scroll down to the weight and let's choose a 3-point thickness. Now what we can do is just bring this over kind of to the center edge of the frog's leg, and we can use the circular arrow to kind of maneuver it. Now at this time, you can use the dots to move it up or make it longer. Just get it to where you like it. So it's not really set in stone with the definitions, because once you change things, the dimensions will change, and that's okay. So just get it to a spot where you like it. And then once that's complete, we can go ahead and select the line and then press down on Shift and Control and select the frog's leg. And then come up to Group and Group. Now what we can do is send it backward and then go ahead and we'll press down on Control C, Control V, rotate, flip horizontal, and then just bring it to the other side. Next, let's go in and create the frog's feet by going up to Insert, Shapes, and we're going to scroll down under the flowchart section and come into this first row, and we're going to select the flowchart terminator. Now at this time, we're going to click and drag this out horizontally. And then we can come up to shape format. And in the shape height box, let's enter 0.27. And in the shape width box, let's enter 1.11. I'm going to go ahead and put this in that same green color. So I'm going to go ahead and select the frog's face, come up to home, click on the format painter, and then select the frog's part of the frog's foot. Now what we can do is copy and paste this by selecting it and then pressing down on Control C, Control V. And let's do it one more time. Control C, Control V. Now I'm just going to maneuver this around using that circular arrow. And I'm just going to move it close to the edge of the other part of the foot, just to make it kind of nicely aligned. Once you get it to a nice place, we'll go ahead and group everything together. So I'm going to go ahead and select that first part of the foot, press down on Shift and Control, and then select the second one and the third one. And now we can come up to shape format and group and group. Now let's just take this down toward the bottom of the frog's leg and then use that circular arrow to maneuver it around. Once this is created, let's go ahead and copy and paste by selecting it and then pressing down on Control C, Control V, and then coming up to rotate and flip horizontally. And then just go ahead and bring this foot to the other side. Next, let's create the frog's arm and fingers to make the frog's hand. So the first thing we'll do for the frog's arm is to go up to Insert, Shapes, and let's scroll all the way down under the flowchart section. And we're going to scroll to the very last shape. It's called the flowchart manual operation. And we can just click and drag downward, go up to shape format, and let's enter our dimensions. Into the shape height box, let's enter 3.8. And into the shape width box, let's enter 0.77. Now let's put the frog's arm in the same color as the frog's body. So I just selected the frog's face again, go up to home, click on that paintbrush. And then once you see that paintbrush icon, just click on the frog's arm. Now we can move the frog's arm in front of the frog's body. So I'm just going to nicely put it here and then use that circular arrow to kind of tweak it a little bit to get it in a nice place. And then what we can do is create the frog's fingers to make the hands. So let's go up to Insert, Shapes, and scroll all the way down to the flowchart section. And in this first row, we'll select the flowchart terminator. Go ahead and click and drag this out horizontally. Come up to shape format And in the shape height box, let's enter 0.23. And in the shape width box, we'll enter 1.1. Now we can click on the frog's face again, go up to home, click on the format painter, find that paintbrush icon as you come down and click on the frog's finger. And then we can use the circular arrow to maneuver it around. At this time, I'm going to select the frog's finger and then copy and paste by pressing down on Control-C, Control-V, and once more Control-C, Control-V. Now just get it into a nice formation so that you can create the frog's hand. So I'm just going to move this over and nicely at the top, just line it up. Once you have it nicely aligned, go ahead and select one of the fingers, and then let's press down on Shift and Control, and we'll select the remaining fingers. Come up to Shape Format, and we'll group and group. Now what we can do is just bring this over to the frog's arm and use that circular arrow to maneuver it around. Once you get it in a nice spot, go ahead and keep that selected, and let's press down on Shift and Control, and then we'll click on the frog's arm, and we'll select Group and Group. Now we can copy and paste by pressing down on Control-C, Control-V, and then just rotate and flip horizontally, and then just move this other arm to the other side. This is where you might need to do a little bit of tweaking if you want to keep the frog's arm and hands separate, or if you're okay with them kind of meshing together. It's all up to you. But I'm just going to kind of move these around a little bit. And if for whatever reason it kind of keeps kind of showing up behind, this is a nice time where you can just go in and select just the arm and move it down just a tad and kind of get it maneuvered around. For something fun, we can add little rosy cheeks to our frog if you're interested. So go up to Insert, Shapes, and let's select the oval under the Basic Shape section. Go ahead and click and drag it out. Now come up to Shape Format, and in the Shape Height box, we can enter 1.01, and in the Shape Width box, we'll enter 1.03. Now come up to Shape Fill and just select a fun color that you like. I have found this really pretty rose color that I like. So I'm going to select that and then go to Shape Outline and choose No Outline. And now I can just bring this over to the frog's cheeks. And I'm going to copy and paste by pressing down on Control-C, Control-V, and then just bringing this to the other side. Just looking for those horizontal lines running above and below. And just tweak that out. Now we have an adorable frog, but let's make sure that we group everything together. So we can go in and select the frog's body and face. And then let's press down on Shift and Control. And we're going to select the leg, the feet, the arms, and if you added these cute little rosy cheeks, go ahead and get those as well. Now we can come up to Shape Format and Group and Group. I always like to move my frog around just to make sure I didn't leave anything behind. And oh my gosh, what an adorable little frog. Now is the time to right-click and select Save as a Picture somewhere safe on your computer. And then, of course, always keep your original so you can go in and make modifications. Now the frog is complete, but stick around in a little bit. I'm going to show a video, and I'll show you how we can add our frog to our little pond background scene. Hello and welcome. Let's get started creating our spring scene. So the first thing we'll do is go up to Insert, Shapes, and we can scroll down under the rectangles section and select this first rectangle. Once you see that plus sign, just click and drag it out. And at this time, I'm going to fill the entire page. And then I'm going to come up to Shape Fill. And I want to select a nice light blue color. And then come to Shape Outline and we'll select No Outline. Next, let's go ahead and select the rectangle again. and copy and paste it by pressing down on Control C, Control V. And then just nicely, let's line it up and pull this down using these dots. Just hover over the center dot, click, and we'll just move it down. And then just bring it down a little bit to make sure it goes down to the bottom of the page. So I'm just going to bring this up just a tad. Now let's go up to Shape Fill, and we can put this in a nice green color. So under Standard Colors, select the light green color. And it also doesn't have an outline, and that's exactly what we want. Let's take that spring background scene we created and tweak it just a bit to add a pond to it. And then we can add our frog in it along with the turtle that was created previously, the butterfly, and some other fun little things we can put on it. So what we're going to do at this time is select that background scene that we created, and then just select that grass. Go up to Shape Format. I'm going to bring it forward. And because the pond will take up a lot of room, let's move this rectangle up as much as we can. And at this time, I'm also going to maybe delete some of these clouds out. So just that we have that nice sun shining. And what we can do then also, I'm just going to bring this up a little bit more, try to fill the whole screen. Now what we can do is create the pond. So go up to Insert, Shapes, and I like a little bit of definition on my pond. So I'm going to go under the lines section, and this very last shape is called the freeform scribble. And this is where you can use your mouse and draw something. So once you see that pencil icon, you can go ahead and just use the mouse with a steady hand. And if you have to do this a few times, don't worry about it. I had to do it a lot when I first started and still do. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on my mouse and just start to drag out a nice little pond. Once that's created, come on up to Shape Fill, and I'm going to select a nice blue color with no outline, but I'm going to go back into Shape Fill and scroll down to more fill colors, and I like a little bit of a greenish blue. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of select one of those and then use this arrow to toggle down just a little bit and then click on. Next, let's create this log to put in our pond, and then we'll put this little frog on it. So let's go ahead and to create the log, let's go up to Insert, Shapes, and we can scroll down under the Basic Shape section. And in the second row, let's go all the way down toward the end and select the cylinder. Once we see that plus sign, let's just click and drag this out. And then go ahead and use that circular arrow to maneuver it around. Now, when I look at my other log from before, I have it at 2.35 and 0.92. So let's go ahead and we can enter those dimensions. Let's enter 2.35 and then 0.92. And now we can come up to Shape Fill and go into this third column toward the end and select this bottom dark brown color. And then let's Shape Outline in black. Go back up to Shape Outline and we'll scroll down to Weight. And let's go ahead and choose a 4.5 point thickness. Now we can go into Insert, Shapes, and to make the log have a little more definition, let's go under the line section and scroll down to the very end and select the freeform scribble. We just use this to create the pond. So once you see that pencil icon, just get your steady hand ready and we'll use a little wave to maneuver it to the other side. Once that's completed, go to Shape Outline and we'll outline in black. And then we can go down to Weight and choose a 3/4 point thickness. And then we can copy and paste with the line selected. Let's press down on Control C, Control V. And I'm just going to maneuver this line underneath the other one. And then I'm going to copy and paste again by pressing down on Control C, Control V, and putting this toward the very bottom. Now I can select the bottom line, press down on Control Shift, and go ahead and select the remaining lines, come up to Group and Group, and then we can maneuver the lines in the center of the log. Now let's go into Insert, Shapes, and let's scroll down under the Basic Shape section and select the oval. We'll just click and drag this out. Come up to Shape Fill, and we're going to scroll down and select No Fill. And then come up to Shape Outline, scroll down to Weight, and we'll also choose that 3/4 point thickness. Now we can just bring this over to the front of the log or the side of it, pull this in, and then go ahead and we'll copy and paste by pressing down on Control C, Control V, and then just maneuver this toward the inner circle here, move it in, and we can make it a little bit smaller. Go ahead and just move it over a little bit. These 4 arrows at the bottom will help you do that. Once that's completed, with that little circle selected, let's press down on Shift and Control. Click on that bigger circle, and then click on the log, and then click on the lines if you haven't grouped those yet. And now we can go over to Group and Group. And just to make sure you have everything grouped, just pull it away. If you don't have everything grouped, you'll notice it's behind the log. And now what we can do is put this log in the center of our pond by going up to Align and then Align Center. And then in order to make it look like it's sinking into the water, let's go to Insert, Shapes, and we can go to the Rectangle section and just select this first rectangle. Just click and drag it out. We want it to be as long as the log. And then what we can do is click on the pond, and then let's go up to Home, scroll down to the Format Painter, and once you see that icon, we can just click on it, and that will allow the log to look like it's kind of sinking into the water. Now what we can do is add our frog to the log, and if he happens to be behind the log, let's go to Picture Format, and we can bring forward. So cute. If you also want him to be more in the center of the pond, you can just move him down and tweak him as you like. Now let's add some more pictures to the background scene. So we can put our fish in the water. We can put the bird in the sky. We can put the butterfly in the sky as well. You can put the ladybug in the grass. You can put the flowers over here. Make them a little bit smaller. And then copy and paste the flowers and put them also over here. Last but not least, I would like to add my little turtle to the pond and put him in the water as if he's submerged. So this is a great time to just have fun with the pond background scene and make little tweaks for whatever you like. So I hope you've enjoyed creating these little animals and pond background scene with me today. I hope you've enjoyed creating this frog on a log with me today, and stick around. I'll be back next week with another Clipart tutorial. See you next time. Bye.